let's start on some shop reviews then. A few people have submitted their shops. I'm going to share a screen. It's all Etsy again, which is not a bad thing.
Oh, nice.
The first one is actually something we were talking about earlier, like selling graphics, selling print-on-demand graphics. Mighty Bundles. What do we think of the banner views so far? 3,000 sales.
I like the banner. It kind of commands attention. It's not too overwhelming, and you kind of get the gist of it. I would argue that any script font should be touching. You should never space the letters out. They're intended to be mimicking handwriting, but that's the typography in me.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't look bad still. I've seen worse spaced out script fonts, but yeah, that's a good rule to go by. Don't increase the kerning. Oh, which one is it? We've got a message here. I don't think we'll go through that. This is what they're selling. So it looks like t-shirt bundles.
That's a huge bundle. Kind of hard to see but it does look like there's a lot of things in that bundle.
14,000.
I'm gonna go buy it.
There you go. You don't have to wait for my 12,000. There's 14 right there.
The price is quite high as well. One thing that I would say, based on what we see right here, is maybe add a sale. But this is what we've got. So it looks like AI generated art that is kind of geared towards POD sellers.
Yeah. I like that there's a bigger version that you can see, because the thumbnail, you can kind of see what they are, but having to, I don't know if it's too fast or whatever, but I like that you can see that,
these
some
videos.
of the samples. Yeah, those videos are kind of neat where you can see samples of it up close. So.
Can you scroll up to that one, the bestseller one up there?
The bundles or one of these?
I think, or like that one, Rider, I don't know what that is, Rider Weight Mega Bundle. Yeah. For something like this, I would almost say split test it, like keep it the same value proposition of however many bundles that is, but take only like the ones, I mean, I don't know if you have this data, but if you have data on, the ones that individually perform the best, like I would maybe consolidate, because right now you can't really see anything. So it's like really hard to like understand what that is. So I would split test with maybe only showing like 4 or 6 of those cards that are like historically the most sought after, if you have that data, just because this is like a little bit of overwhelm. And maybe this is the winning and this is the one that performs the best, but like you always want to compete against your last best thing. So if these are already the best seller, right? You see how the one next to it, it's like you can kind of clearly see the 428. You can kind of clearly see what are the ones, like this smaller one, you can't really see. And maybe this is the best seller, but I don't know if you haven't already split tested it. I would probably try to split test it. And it's also just like, it's a lot of words. So I would even like cut it down and try to make it less words, and whatever the clear value proposition is, which is probably the amount of things that you're getting in big. So like 100 big letter XYZ. Like
it's quite a thin font, difficult to read.
Yeah,
absolutely. Highlight how many you get, in there.
Yeah, that's quite small.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you're doing well and you're on the right path. You've got a lot of sales, you've got some bestsellers, but there are some improvements you can do to the mock-ups for sure. Let's go on to this one. I believe the person put into the comments that this shop is very new, like a week old. So it's got no sales. The banner.
Congrats on getting started, Janet.
Yeah,
exciting.
Good job for starting.
Pauzuka, that's awesome.
Yeah, cool name. Yeah, that looks like there's a bit of an outline of what you're going to do. That's cool. A few updates. And
interesting
listings.
That's an interesting mock-up where it's in a box. We talked about maybe zooming in a little bit more so we can see the design more. I think that I would do that. But
yeah, so this was exactly the type of stuff that I'm talking about. So like, you don't want anything to potentially distract them from the value of the thing that you're selling. So even like that, I think it's a feather or like the flower on the side, like you don't want someone to be like, oh, I think that's ugly. And now they're thinking about, oh, that's ugly. You know what I mean? So they want to think, you only want the center focal point to be exactly the thing that you're selling. Like nothing potentially hazardous. So I kind of like this mock-up actually, like how it's in a box. I would just either zoom in more or just make it more clean on the sides. I don't know if you guys agree with that one.
I do definitely zoom in. I also want to ask you if you're actually shipping these in a box of any kind, because if you're not, you're potentially creating an issue where there could be some friction. So like somebody's getting a poly mailer versus what looks to be packaged in a really nice box might be a letdown if they're, sending it to somebody as a gift. I just wouldn't invite any potential kind of conflict or something. But I mean, it looks cool. It looks really nice. If you're sending it in a box, and that's great. If you're doing it yourself.
What are the words on each of those mock-ups? They're like the top right has something color.
So I think that's comfort colors.
Comfort colors. Brand of the shirt.
Ivory at the bottom, mustard, navy. So these are the colors that are on the thumbnail.
Interesting.
Ships fast.
Can you zoom up to the thumbnail or the logo and stuff? I'm sorry, not the thumbnail, the banner.
Scroll up, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool, funky branding.
I like the fact that this is quite uniform. Like everything looks, all the mock-ups pretty much look the same. We've got a bit of variety with the different colors in the thumbnail. I would definitely zoom in as well, but for a new shop, so I think it looks quite tidy overall. I
don't know. All right, what is you guys'? I don't love the red. Sometimes I think when people think of red, they think of hazard. I don't know. This might just be a personal thing or doesn't actually matter, or if you guys used red like badges before, but I personally don't. To me, it's almost like a negative connotation to see red, and you don't want someone to have a potentially like a millisecond feeling of, oh, that's, I don't know, aggressive. I don't know, whatever they correlate with the color red.
Never thought about that, but it's a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah, it raises blood pressure. It raises blood pressure, stimulates appetite. It causes like irrational behavior. It does, color theory is another thing you guys need to study after typography.
Wearables and more nice banner. Got design examples.
I like that.
Struggling to read the logo a little bit, but
I'm going to tear the Band-Aid off and call out the shop name is super generic. You're telling people that you sell stuff and more stuff. It's not niched enough, I don't think, in terms of like, tell people what it is. If you're going to use like wearables, I mean, are you literally selling every POD garment under the sun? If not, then reduce it in some way.
Well,
your intent.
First I started off with t-shirts and then sweaters, hoodies, then whatnot. And then and then moving on to like blankets. And then I had to stop off on blankets for a while because it was messing up my design. I'm like still trying to figure out on Canva how to try and do it and whatnot. So that went off for a little bit for now.
Right off the hop there, blankets aren't really a wearable, right? So it's starting to like, move away from even the shop name. I would say pick one product, pick one niche and stick it until you master it. You're never going to be learning how you said yourself, it's difficult to design for that for the blankets, for example, once you've been in the, the t-shirt or sweatshirt space, right? If you try to put a nickel into 1,000 pots, you're never going to, hit $1. It's going to take you forever, right? You want to put all your focus, I think, into one item, one design, get really good at it so that you're not even thinking about the small processes, the artboard dimensions. You're not thinking about it anymore. Make it automatic. You know what I mean? Like a kata in any, in karate, right? Repeat it until it becomes kind of ingrained. And only then, once you've mastered that, and your sales will tell you if you've mastered it or not, move on to potentially, maybe adding a niche or a new product. That would be my number one from as a beginner.
I want to say the mock-ups definitely looking better than what we've seen before. So like this is a good example, I think, of being zoomed in close enough so you can see the design well, but you can still tell it's a t-shirt. And that seems to be the case in most of these. No additional words or clutter really. So yeah, that's one positive for sure, I'd say. But yeah, we can see there's a lot of different products that you're testing.
Yeah,
what's been selling for him? Can you click the sales?
What was that?
Sales, this.
Yeah, 72.
72 sales, nice.
Yeah, that was, I started last year, sold like about 1.5K for Q4, but then work got busy. So I kind of didn't follow that sales velocity of uploading more, creating more designs until I restarted back up in May of this year again. So just trying to catch back up to getting back in the groove of things. So first off, it started with the chickens, and then it's like, okay, maybe that was like, I think that was my starting off niche, just because I grew up with chickens, I raised birds, and then moved on to other pets. But then I'm like trying to think of like what to move forward with.
If that stuff was selling, I would maybe zoom out a little bit, right, and go into add a few more potentially homesteading animals, right?
Mhm.
Zoom out, keep adding. If that's what was selling for you, like don't reinvent the wheel here. If it was working, just build on it, right? Double down for sure.
In terms of generally, like again, running a sale, I think would make these look a bit better because if you're looking at the Etsy search results, most people are probably running some sort of sale or at least have like a free shipping badge, which I don't think you necessarily need that. I've never really had, compared to normal pricing with shipping, I've never really had that much success with free shipping. How's that been for you guys?
The what?
Phil is saying he hasn't had much success with free shipping. I also don't offer it. I've tested both and it just doesn't make sense. I think the customer likes, and I do have a healthy 40% margin when I'm running a 40% sale. But that said, I also think the customer to a degree will still appreciate seeing, or they enjoy seeing, the lower initial price point as opposed to having the shipping built in, because we all know there's no such thing as free shipping, right? Sorry, neighbor's dog, I'm gonna mute.
Yeah, pricing wise, I try to do like the whole close to 50%, so to get some kind of traction, but I don't know if I keep it long enough. I do it for like 2 weeks, but then I don't know if I'm like posting at the right time for the season, the seasonality, things like that. So that was my other thing, that because I put it on when I created a design, I put it up for 2 weeks and then I just run ads for 2 weeks, and if nothing happens, then I turn off the ads and then move on. But then if I see like a like or a sale on an item, then I would go back, redesign something and upscale it towards what was selling, see if it gains more traction that way.
Doesn't seem like a bad strat to me. I also like quite a lot of your designs. I think your designs are pretty cool. What do you think, Juna?
I think so too. I was going to mention that a lot. You got a lot of good designs up there. At least t-shirt looking designs. Those skeletons one looks really cool. The first page had some really good ones too, and so I think you're nailing the design, at least the look of it. I don't know if these things are trending or if they're, but they look good.
Because when I do skeletons and I'm seeing the uptick in the search, and I'm like, okay, try to do it that way, but then we use like Everbee. So I'm like, and then I look for the whole site as what's showing, what's selling, and then trying to be like, okay, 3 months till Halloween. Okay, let's try to get some Halloween designs up for that.
Right. Good strategy.
Okay, any last words of advice from anyone? Because if not, then we've still got another couple of shops to try and get through and then end it on the personal questions. But thanks a lot for joining Wearables.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, you're definitely doing well in some aspects, and especially doing it next to a 9-to-5. You've got some cool designs, yeah.
And you're doing great by seeking feedback and actually taking that in and then going to apply it. That puts you way ahead of the curve. So nice job.
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts to do this. So kudos for sure.
I think we've got another fairly new shop here.
Oh, owls. Looks like owls.
MD Creations, 38 sales, digital downloads, mostly Halloween.
I'll start again with the shop name. Don't use your own name unless your name is Michael Kors or something famous. You make it niche related at the bare minimum so that people will remember it. It has to. You're trying to instill confidence, but before that, people need to know what it is you're selling, but based on the store name, and it needs to be phonetically easy to say, but also easy to spell. Like you've got 3 E's in MD Creations, presumably because the 2E version was taken. I'm not sure, but you know what I mean. Like, try to be logical and intentional about how you create this stuff.
And the banner to me doesn't scream digital downloads either, even though it says right there digital downloads under what you're selling. But I couldn't tell from the banner that that's what I knew you were selling digital owls probably, but not anything else. So.
Yeah, it also looks like it's mainly Halloween themed, right?
Halloween themed, yeah.
Maybe he started off with owls. Let's see.
Maybe he did, yeah. Or she did.
No, these owls, from what I can tell, are not on this shop.
Yeah, the first one was the owls, the very first.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, quirky owls, yeah.
But yeah, most of the shop seems to be a different theme, so that's something worth considering. I think the banner doesn't necessarily match that. Yeah,
maybe the banner was made when you just had owls and that's what you started with, but I think you got enough products now that you could probably change this.
I would say my biggest question, or something I don't know, because I don't know this niche or how you are going about your research, but I would just challenge, based off of what I'm seeing, like, are you validating, your product, this type of product idea, or validating, the product idea before you actually, go and make these digital downloads? And if you don't care about, I mean, everyone cares, but I would just say, before you invest time and energy into creating a digital download, I would just go into the marketplace and validate somewhere that people are actively buying this on like a big scale. If that's like the goal, if this is just like, oh, I just want to do it for fun, whatever, and this is what I like making or designing, then you can say, screw all this advice. But if you're looking more so for like, heavy hitters, 20 add to carts, I would, validate that what you want to have to sell before you invest a bunch of time and energy into developing the listing, that it's validated somewhere out there, sort of deal. So you're not just kind of blindly throwing things at the wall. Again, I don't know if that's what you're doing, but I'm just saying potentially, because some of this might be so niche, or not necessarily niche, but so specific to like, it's not like a Halloween party invite or, so all I'm saying is like, let's validate that people are actively buying just like one-off digital Halloween graphics before, spending the next 6 hours trying to make more of that thing, which you could have already done that, which I have no idea. But yeah, that was the only point I'm trying to make, because my gut instinct is that these graphics aren't heavy hitters on Etsy, which again, if that's not the goal for you, then just ignore all this. But if your goal is, I want to get my listings with 20 add to cart badge, bestseller badge, then it might be, a good idea to take a step back and validate your competition or validate the product idea before you spend more time on it.
I totally agree with that. I think a lot of people get thinking that all they have to do is add 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever amount of things, but you have to validate that they're actually something people want to buy.
He opened in June, so he's still learning. But yeah, if you're a new seller, I don't think the shop is looking bad necessarily. And in a sense, I get it. If you've got these bundles, which tend to do better, I think, for digital downloads, then it's kind of easy to repurpose the graphics within the bundle as individual listings if you're not bothered about the listing credits. But yeah, they're rarely going to turn into like heavy hitters. For me, for my digital download shops, it's also the bundles that do best, but I still, occasionally take a bundle that's sold a few times and just post the things individually, because there is the odd person that would rather spend $1 on one graphic than $5 and 50 graphics. I don't know why, but that does happen.
And only to say that the limited digital download shop I have with only like 30 listings in it so far and haven't touched in a year still sells regularly, but they're all evergreen, right? So after, you've got Halloween now and then Christmas, nothing in your shop is going to go for the next 10 months of the year. So that's something to consider too. I would invest in evergreen kind of in every element of your business if you want, a long-term sustainable business.
I've got an interesting one coming up here.
Wow.
Thanks to everyone for submitting your stores, by the way. It's cool to get different opinions on these. And we also have a different array of shots, because this one now has 4,000 sales. So I'm guessing this one is a little bit older. Really like this banner. That looks like an interesting product. Like a personalizable blanket. Good news convention. Oh, here we've got your favorite again, Jay. Script font with gaps.
I can't tell in there.
Can't tell. It's too small, isn't it? I can't.
Banner looks great though compared to previous. I think both look great. I think this would be a good candidate for the Etsy Plus. I actually know Carla; she's in my membership as well. And then the banner she had before looked good, but it was almost like there was a man that seemed like he was almost stressed. But it was still a good looking banner. And I think this would be a good candidate for maybe Etsy Plus, where you can have, that cycling kind of option. But it looks good. I know the bulk of her stuff is Jehovah's Witness centered. And I learned that because I didn't know what JW was in the beginning and had to look that up.
Yeah, Carla's a really good case study example of somebody that just like doubled down on, to your point, Jay, of going to what you know, like what do you naturally know a lot about, and just absolutely dominating because you're the expert already or really well versed in that. And she did that. She's absolutely crushing. She's a massive action taker. She honestly should be a coach at this point.
So you both know Carla?
Yeah, Carla's great.
Everyone knows Carla.
Yeah, who doesn't know? You don't know Carla, Philip?
I guess I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing where it's almost like, how do you blow up from, other than adding more to the shop, right? It's like in a case where you're hyper niche like that, you are dominating, you can add a few more things, but I mean, it's almost at that point is just relisting designs with different initial photographs to see, or initial photos to see what might maybe boost better. But you already know what works for that particular niche. And I know you had asked earlier in the chat, I caught it, crossed my eyes there, it on ways to blow this up. And I don't know if there is, there is a limit in some cases. So I would only argue that you could repeat this kind of shop, open a new one, but not have it Jehovah's Witness specifically centric. You could have it, because there's like event-based sort of things that you're doing. All the new, other than, shy of introducing new products, like it looks like you've added a lot more of these blankets. It used to be all digital download, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Oh.
For something that's so niche specific like this, like if you say like there's so many trajectories. So like that's a really great trajectory. Like you can do a parallel where, if there's another parallel that makes sense. But I almost like, if I was in your position, because the brand loyalty to something like this is so freaking strong, like I would say the next best step for this, because I'm sure social media has a bunch of Jehovah like influencers, like I would go Shopify route, get in, have like a dedicated influencer outreach person, TikTok shop route, because it's such a niche but loyal fan base that like this compounded with content and hundreds of people vouching for you and video testimonial and, promoting your stuff in TikTok shop would just crush, because it's like, it's so specific, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Totally agree. Carla's just saying in the chat, she's stuck at 10 to 12K a month, no social media, no email marketing.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know people that have done, like, to what you guys are saying, that have absolutely crushed with, doesn't even matter like what the religion or faith is, on Shopify, print on demand, like for years and years, like millions in sales from just one religion.
Designs by M.
It's not Designs by M.
Here we go.
Okay.
Ooh, that looks like DALL-E.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Quite like the
I
layout.
love that you guys can tell which AI created it immediately. I'm not that well versed with the AI.
This looks like Kittle to me. Not necessarily AI, but it feels like a Kittle design. But anyway, that's enough with the guessing. First impressions. What do we think?
I think it's all right. I think you got to watch some. I think the biggest thing on t-shirts, at least for TeePublic, is you need to make it look like a t-shirt design, and make sure not only that, but also think about who's going to be wearing it, right? Like, is that a t-shirt design, the two post-its? Yeah, I don't know if who's. Oh no, that might be tumblers or something, right? Why is it double?
Might be optimized for another product. Let me see if I can open it.
Oh, it's a mug. Man, I really wish they'd just put the mug on there for TeePublic. Yeah, on TeePublic. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice design, though. But
yeah, that's kind of tough, though, right? When you can't tell what product it is until you click on it.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a sale. That's TeePublic's fault, though.
Missed opportunity.
TeePublic should put this right here, the product on there instead of just the design, or at least do the one design. I don't know how they.
If people are looking for mugs, I guess it shows.
They would see it
like
here. Yeah. Oh, good. At least here it looks like mugs. I would think that him, he, him, daddy. I don't know if people would wear that. Yeah, they look like Kittle. That's true.
Yeah. So I think some of the designs are definitely going into the right direction and look quite good. Like I like this. Yeah. My favorite spirit is tequila. That looks like it.
That somebody would actually wear that. And
good structure. The Friendsgiving squad, that's a little bit tough to read, I would say. This one, but again,
especially the text underneath too, right? It's hard to even see that.
Because the normal friends are too mainstream. That's tough to read. I would say if you have smaller text, don't use a font that's too kind of decorative or handwritten, because that tends to be more difficult to read. Have more of a plain font for the smaller words.
I tend to talk of like what we would call display fonts or ornamental fonts, right? Is like I use them as an analogy, as like think of like really hot pepper, right? You want to use sparingly, and only a little bit, because you can easily add too much and ruin the entire dish, right? It needs to be decipherable, and the readability level has to be there, like on the spot. You don't want people clicking in and clicking a second time just to zoom in, just to read it, to find out they potentially might not even want it.
One thing I like to do is change the background color. Like you have a lot of black ones on here or white ones. It's nice to kind of change the background color on different ones to have more variety on your store. Yeah,
when my TeePublic was doing well, one of my best sellers was on like a blue, like a light blue. I remember, since the tier system, it's all kind of stopped.
But I would say a lot of nice designs on here too.
Yeah.
I would say they're all.
Not sure about this layout. I think this is an example where you're kind of you're trying to be too tricky with the text. Like you're the line I want. This kind of like vertical layout is kind of tough to read.
Yeah, and careful with contrast, like that dark text on a black, or the other one too.
Oh, this one,
dark text on black t-shirt, kind of hard to read, right?
And that dinosaur one too, you can't just reverse something that was intended to be lighter on the dark, or darker on the light, right? You've got the white element in that, or the blue in this case, should be black, and the knocked out element should be white. It's the reverse, right? So you can add an outline. The way to fix that is, there you go. That's how it's supposed to look, right?
Yeah.
You flip it so that the white parts of that are still lighter, and you can put an outline on it, and then you can keep the right color.
If it's on a dark,
that's why it's not.
Now it's the opposite, and it doesn't look right.
Yeah, so I would say on TeePublic, you're able to pick the colors that work well. You can either click dark or light or hand pick the colors. Go in there. I know it takes a little longer, but go in there and make sure that it works on the different colors so that you don't have that problem. You didn't have to pick black in that scenario, right? If you didn't want to put the outline like Jay was saying. You could have just left it to light colors. That would work better. So.
One more thing I would say here with the cat daddy design, I think this is going to be tough to sell because it's very broad, right? It's just a cat. It's not a specific cat. You're on TeePublic. I'm guessing you're probably not running ads to it. So, I mean, what do you think, Jay? Because you would say go broad or go home, but do you think there is much sense on uploading a design that is that broad? Especially,
I think I agree. The design itself is super generic. I also think that if you're going to target a daddy, it's more of a feminine, bubbly style font. The colors I would revisit. The cat doesn't need to have the same color spectrum as the retro sunset behind it. And very similar has been done 1,000 times. So go big and go broad in the big niches, but definitely try to bring something new. Or really unique.
Absolutely. Well, there's some tumblers. There you go. And t-shirts.
Yeah. So they're selling only digital. So a couple things, and I'm sure you guys have already said it, but on t-shirt designs, when we sell them like this, we would really want to just zoom in on that t-shirt design because I can't see even what those are. So that would either lead to me clicking it, which would waste your click if you were running ads, or just a conversion issue later if you have too many people clicking on it because they can't tell what it is. But like that flower one is really, really good. That daisy one, like, so just zoom in almost just so like the whole t-shirt is showing. And like those pumpkins, because I can tell that's like a customizable one. You want them to be able to know. And with those, normally you usually want to make like a little sticker or a little icon that says personalizable or customizable so that they know, because a lot of people actually search for those that way.
Nice.
Yeah, it's surprising how many what the search volume is for the word personalized.
So
one thing I will add is the actual aesthetic of the mock-ups is really nice, I think.
Yeah.
Although, they could be more zoomed in. I think the shop itself has like it feels like a cohesive style of mock-up images.
Definitely.
It looks very Etsy-esque. Designs look cool too.
They look cool. Are all of these? So some of these are digital, right? But the tumblers are tumblers, right? They're not digital.
No, they're the digital tumbler wraps.
Oh, okay. And so you buy it and then you wrap your own tumbler. How does that work?
Yes. So this is where a lot of people just think that like it's hard to explain. You can kind of see them back there, my tumblers. So that's exactly what my handmade is sublimation is this whole thing of you find a design or you make it, then you print it with a special printer, sublimation printer, and then we heat press it. So we either have like automatic heat presses, or you can bake them in an oven, or you can sorry, the dog. And then it's applied. So it's like a special ink that's released when the heat is adhered. So most of the people who work with me or myself, we're selling these to like crafters who have all of this equipment. Though now a lot of the POD people are buying the designs because Printify allows you to, though they're printing UV-DTF, not sublimation, but it still works. So the only thing I would say with the mock-ups on those tumblers is you normally, and I can't, maybe just because I can't tell with the screen, but they generally sell well, and we've tested this, sell better if they have a little bit of gloss to them. And so if you're using a Photoshop mock-up or generator, you can usually add that effect in there, and it just makes them look more real and not so flat.
Yeah.
So it looks more real.
Right. The curve,
yes.
The rounded, the highlight.
Yeah.
The shadows and highlights, yeah.
But adding the flat lays like that is a really, really good idea, because that's where that comes into play, where people want to know if it's seamless or not. And so if you flat lay it like that, they can tell if it's going to be cut off on one side or not. So like this one would be cut off because the palm tree is like cut off.
I would just on this particular listing that Philip has clicked on, remove that one, because Volkswagen has proprietary rights on the shape of the V, not only the logo. Yeah, it's just like the grille that is on the Jeep. You cannot use that either.
Because the back of it doesn't look like a VW, but that front, the front
that would be enough to get the listing taken down for sure.
And they are quite on the ball with that, aren't they?
They are vigilant, absolutely.
Yeah, even though it doesn't even say it in your title or anything, they will catch that one. VW is very famous for it.
But it's a cool looking design. I like the watercolor though.
Yeah, and I think generally the shop is really good looking, nice looking designs from Dallas, Texas.
Very cool.
Off road, very busy banner.
Yeah, that's what my woe was. Sure, busy. Yeah,
usually,
there's a lot on there.
This might just be my opinion, but I think usually the busier something is with lots and lots of text and graphics, the less professional it looks. And also, a lot of this stuff is kind of squished to the edges. I feel like if you give your graphics or your text more space to breathe, that also typically looks better. But yeah, that's just the banner. Let's look at the listings.
And that's a good point, because we see this in actual designs too. Like, I understand the want to jam in as much as you can, but not everything is intended to be like a full-on ad billboard type thing. And the more elements you add to a design, the more artistically educated you need to be to know how to make those elements work together in a way that isn't overwhelming. So less is always more. Yeah.
And if you have that much to read, they probably won't read it at all, because they don't know where to start. So
it's overwhelming.
Yeah. I can't read that one, the gnome one in that one that you were just on in pink. I see in October grandmas wear pink, but I can't see what's under it. So.
Gnomes wear pink, breast cancer awareness. Yeah, very small, very, very small, thin, like script font, which those script fonts are typically hard to read. But if they're really thin and a small size, almost impossible. I do like the fact that the mock-ups are more zoomed in.
That's true. That's a good point.
Right. Some of these, at least, are easier to see the design, and you can still tell that it's a t-shirt. This one is a little tough because you can barely see it's a t-shirt in this case. In terms of the designs, I think, it's similar to the banner in some cases.
Yeah.
It's a bit busy.
Might be too much sometimes.
Let's find an example. So this one stood out to me with the Vogue 2024 Yeti for President. Let's click into it.
Oh, that one.
Can I zoom in? Yeah, I can zoom in. We've got kind of a 3-dimensional text at the top, which I think generally is not the greatest choice on t-shirts. The 3D badge. Then you've got a 2D graphic underneath, which doesn't really match this style. Yeti for president, the third choice. Then there's a cat here. Some, there's a lot of elements that they're kind of conflicting with each other in a sense. Makes it difficult, at least for me, just in my opinion, makes it difficult to process the design and like trying to understand the point of it. And the fact that the colors and the styles don't match makes it kind of less aesthetically pleasing.
Agreed. It's nice that they're showing the different colors that it comes on.
Yeah, I think having like a color overview is good.
Again, though, you don't have to fill the entire space and overlap, right? You can have them much smaller and with space around them. Use the negative space. It acts as its own kind of element. Breathing room ultimately is what Philip had said earlier. I think that would make sense.
So if I was to give you any advice, it's looking at design principles and kind of educating yourself on that side of things.
Yeah, a lot of it looks like it's just thrown together without any design principles. I mean, there are some that
this one's quite decent.
Yeah.
Quite like this one. Land of Free, thanks to the brave. That's more of a clear, like symmetrical layout, just 2 graphics. So there is some good ones mixed in right here. Female veteran, that's also a better layout, I would say, but some of them are kind of difficult in terms of the layout.
I would say if you could keep it a little more simple and have the text more readable, that would go a long way. What do
y'all think about this shop's kind of the feel of being cohesive compared to the last one, the mock-up?
Well, I feel like it's in the same vein as the design and the banner. It's just kind of a lot of elements slapped together. I feel like there was no thought process as to how you want your shop to look. And I think part of that is because there's no real niche having been chosen, right? It's a lot easier to have some kind of cohesion if you're selling. It's one thing if you're selling if you're a product store, like in Bailey's case, if you're selling one product but to multiple niches. But when you're selling an end product to a consumer, like in a POD space like this, when you're combining like there's a lot of feminine stuff, and then there's the political stuff, which is super divisive, and in most cases they're kind of conflicting niches. They're all over the place, and I feel like what's going on in your head is kind of what has transpired in your shop ultimately. And I'm not saying this to be extra critical or harsh, but I feel like there's not a lot of direction. I feel like if you pick one of the niches and just go to town on it for a while, you'll naturally recognize the fonts through your research that make the most sense for that niche, the color schemes that make the most sense, how to use like hierarchy with your fonts and not necessarily just overuse of the ornamental stuff. To everybody else's credit, what they said too with the scripting fonts, they're hard enough to read. There's not enough contrast on the pink, on the black, on the thin script, and then to Bailey's point, you're going to sacrifice your conversion rate because people are clicking on it just to see what it says. Double-edged sword is that if you've paid for an ad now, you're also out money before they decide not to check out.
Yeah, sound advice. And I just wanted to do a quick swap over to the previous shop just to see the contrast. I like the quick comparison. Very similar looking styles and mock-ups,
and you can look at shops in one of the niches you choose that are killing it and look at their shop alone, right? They're probably sticking with 4 or 5 main mock-ups, reusing those, slightly different zoom in levels depending on the design. But even using the same 4 or 5 mock-ups will give you at least some semblance of cohesion to start.
Health Village Apparel. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of sweaters right here. First impressions, I think some of these thumbnails look pretty nice. Decent looking designs as well. We've got tarot cards.
What are you guys' thoughts on, because I've seen a lot of repeat designs and I'm not that familiar with Etsy. Is it good to put like the same design right next to each other where it's pretty similar? Like
this right here?
Yeah.
I don't like doing that. It creates customer confusion in my mind. Like, why would you pick one and not the other without, they're just literally different colors at first glance anyway, right? It's introducing, again, friction where there otherwise would be none. There's a design that looks awesome. Oh, wait, there's one over here and here. What's the difference now? And then that's the whole thing about, analysis paralysis, right? Decision fatigue, however you want to call it. If you offer them too many options in the similar vein, people will be more and more likely to just abandon the decision-making process and leave and go somewhere else where they only have, 1 or 2 options. So if you're going to do this stuff, you can spread them out, or you can also sort your listings. You can go into your shop dashboard, click on the little pen beside your shop name, and then you can kind of drag and drop and place them randomly. So it's not the 10 of the same, even though I would never have 10 of the same. break it up visually for sure. I don't know how, like, what do you guys do with your Shopify and stuff like that, Chris? Like, you don't list a bunch of the same looking stuff?
Yeah, we actually spend a decent amount of time optimizing like the order of our collection page, is thinking of it as like that's our main landing page, and we think of it in terms of what's it going to look like on mobile specifically. I don't know about for Etsy, but for Shopify, it's like 80 to 90% mobile sessions, which is misleading for like a beginner on Shopify, because Shopify shows you everything on desktop. And when you look at your collection that way, you see it 4 across. So we look at it 2 across. And in terms of the products, we try to kind of scatter them. We definitely don't put the same design side by side, is the short answer. Yeah. But what we try to do is mix it between design styles. So I'll try to have like a typography design next to like just a graphic design. And I'll do different color shirts. And it's little things like that make it more engaging as you scroll. Like just picturing a wall of white shirts versus like white, blue, purple, red, and then it's typography, it's graphics. That makes it more engaging. But then the important thing is that, at least for Shopify, where we try to do like very niche specific, like yoga, for example, it's really important that there's one consistent theme that somebody coming to the site would like feel connected to. For example, if I click on an ad that has like a like heavily meditated like typography design, then if I click and I see like a history tease style, like super sarcastic, like borderline questionable level joke, like that would like be pretty off-putting and would give me like a pause before I buy from that site. So it's important that if I'm clicking on something like meditation related or like mindfulness, I should see all things that are in that same vein as from a buyer standpoint.
Nice.
So that's how we think through it.
Yeah, makes sense. I feel the same. You got to break it up a little bit visually. Like you have like, what are we looking at right now? 8 different coquette bow designs. They're so
they are fairly similar.
It's all the same right there, one shot, right? And again, if you're looking on mobile, it's like 60 to 70, not quite as high with the Shopify numbers, but people are buying on mobile, so it has to be discernible quickly. And if you're going to be scrolling more than 3 finger swipes and still seeing the same kind of aesthetic, it's just kind of, it's boring ultimately.
I'm curious, what do you guys see on Etsy in terms of like where the sales are coming from? Are they coming from like search find buy, like people are typing in a search term and then they're clicking on an individual listing, going right to that, or a large number of people coming to your collection, like the collections we're looking at here, and then shopping around?
I see direct traffic and then like from like search and find a listing, but then I have a ton of repeat customers, right? Like it's niche-based, brand-based kind of thing. So that's, a lot of people will say that it's just a random, like it's like a Google for buying a t-shirt, and then they don't care about your shop cohesion and the overall look. My wife and I both are, all of our shops really, there's like 5 or 6 now, but we would absolutely prove that otherwise. If you're not a general store, if you're a general store, then yeah, it makes sense that people would come buy one thing and potentially never come back, right? Because you're not catering to that one specific customer. But we have a ton of repeat customers, and our conversion rates are up over 5% steady, all of them.
And you can help that out with like little inserts as well, with like Printful, for example. You can do that. You can add an insert and give people like a discount code if they come back. I've had that happen a lot of times where people will order 1 coffee mug, for example, and then they'll use that additional discount for like a follow-up gift or next Christmas. But also for me, it's majority come from search, not necessarily from the shop pages. But for one thing that I want to say is a lot of the designs definitely do look good, and I like the focus on a lot of customized stuff. Like you can change the name in a lot of these listings,
that's really cool.
Which is good.
Yeah, the aesthetic of the shop looks good. It's clean, crisp. It looks really good. The designs are clean. They look good, except for that ER ornament is a little hard to make out. But yeah.
This one, nerds is a bit hard to read. That's a good point. We've got legendary shirt right here. 245 sales.
Wow. 5-star.
With 70 listings as well. That's a pretty good ratio if it's a new shop especially. I like that the designs are fairly easy to see because a lot of these are quite zoomed in, but at the same time it's also hard to tell in some of these that they're a t-shirt.
True.
So these almost look more like a digital download to me.
That's true. Yeah, some of them do look like mock-ups with the t-shirt, but then some of them are just the designs.
As soon as you can, I would expand your evergreen library because I feel like a bunch of your sales probably came from Halloween. It looked like at the top that was showing up there, Halloween and some political stuff. So expect a drought if you haven't had any evergreen sales yet.
Yeah, this shop definitely seems a little bit more all over the place with the mock-up styles.
Mhm.
Like sometimes it's very zoomed out, then it's extremely zoomed in. There's kind of different types of mock-ups, a few random products in between. So I try and make it look more unified in a sense.
That's what I would say.
But there's some good designs here.
What do you think about a shop banner? I know the other one had one on Etsy.
Yeah.
Do you think every shop should have a shop banner or no?
I do. Like if you're trying to build trust. So like Legendary shirt, your face there should be kind of like a shop logo, but over on the right, where your actual profile picture is, there's nothing there. There's no banner. There's nothing that says, I'm a trustworthy shop, buy from me. I think it's a chance to, resonate emotionally. Emotionally is the biggest driver you can kind of capitalize. But yeah, anything you can do. Etsy gives you all those sections to fill out, and they compound and add to your shop quality score, right? Which is ultimately, a big bonus. So if you're making sales now, imagine what you could do if you built out your entire shop.
Yeah, I would also have the profile picture over here, like for your actual profile thing, and then have a logo for the shop.
And try to get your star seller badge. You've got the 5-star reviews, maybe it looks like, but it looks like your turnaround times are lacking and your customer service is lacking if you haven't gotten all 3. So I would definitely work on that because you can filter now by star seller too.
Yeah, that helps.
That's really cool.
And running a sale helps as well.
One of them was an SVG. If you go up, you can see that $2 one.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is kind of confusing to know which.
Yeah, it's
is
hard
which.
to notice a difference, isn't it? Like this kind of looks the same.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, still a good job on getting 250 sales with a relatively low amount of product.
Impressive.
So let's look at this one right here. Olive Secret Soap, 41 sales, New Jersey. No store banner again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to want to build trust for sure. And you leverage the featured items. You got 3 more little stars you can put on items there.
Nice. I was going to ask about that. So you can do what, 3 featured items?
4 for sure. If you have the regular free Etsy account, if you have premium, then you got 2 extra big thumbnails. One can be a product and one can be a shop section. Wow. Which is nice too. Yeah. That's cool. And then it gives you a carousel as well, right?
You have like different layout options, don't you? With that
limitedly different, but yeah, a little slightly different. Yeah.
Do you recommend getting that? The I forgot what it's called.
The premium Shopify Premium. I have it on my biggest shop, and what I like about it is the banner. You can have it click. It's a clickable carousel, so you can have it clicked and linked to a shop section. So in my banner, I would have, for example, 3 or 4 people wearing those kinds of shirts for that particular shop section. So it's the same aesthetic throughout, slightly different. They click on it, they go to that, that particular shop section, which would be a sub niche in my niche shop. The next banner, same thing, goes to a different section, right? So you're kind of like, it's advertising right in their face. Same way a Shopify store would work. I think you can have clickable banners there, everything too. So it's just, leveraging the marketing stuff. For the $15 a month, you get about $7 or $8 worth of between ad fees and listing fees covered. So for the extra $7 that you're out of pocket, if you're going to pay for it, then leverage those marketing elements. But I don't use it in any other shop other than the one, but I can't say for sure if it's helped or not. I would have to turn it off and then, measure the same kind of stuff year over year, I think.
I was signed up to it for a while, but it was also tough for me to figure out, does it really make a difference?
It doesn't show us any metrics of who's clicked on the banner and that, which sucks.
So my first impressions from this shop, I wonder what you think as well, is that the mock-ups don't seem very optimized for Etsy, or a lot of them.
That's what I was going to say.
They kind of have more that Amazon feel with the white, empty background. I think the lifestyle mock-ups tend to definitely do better and kind of fit the Etsy aesthetic better.
Mm-hmm. And I think they could zoom in on a lot of some of them look just like maybe Printify mock-ups that you, like that one hanging on the chair. I think that's a Printify, the t-shirt hanging on a chair, but I would zoom in so you could see it. You don't need to see the chair and the t-shirt and everything. So
yeah,
Yeah, and then on the first page there was be intentional with your mock-ups on that. There was one mug that was turned and you couldn't see maybe 2/3 of the design on that first page, right there under the black
This
hoodie.
one.
Yeah, like no idea what we're looking at, right? So just be very intentional and deliberate with how you're creating your listings. What would make you click on that if you were a shopper, right? If you couldn't understand what it said.
And you said this before, Philip, to make it more cohesive. We saw another one where kind of mock-ups
Yeah.
were all over the place. I think you could definitely do some mock-ups that kind of work together instead of having all kinds of different mock-ups.
Yeah, like we've got some colored mugs or colored inside mugs with a plain white mock-up, and then we've got these ones which are lifestyle, different angles. So it seems all a bit random.
I would also, focus on one or two products until you figure out how to design for them and nail it. You're all over the place here, and designing for everything keeps you in different headspaces. You might be in the same aesthetic even if you were niched, even though you're not. But even the constraints of the artboard sizes that you got to navigate and think about when you're designing can be enough to skew how the quality of your design is, right, where your headspace is. All over the place. I would stick to one or two products tops until you completely nail it. It's the only way to get to know what's working.
We do see the same thing on Shopify as well. I think it's and I had the same inclination when I was starting out. For some reason, I associated success or like full-fledged store would just have lots of different product types. Maybe because every retail store I had ever walked into my entire life had way more than just one product. Who knows? But we see it all the time. Like people who are starting out thinking that, okay, I'm starting a print-on-demand store. That means I need T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, canvases, tapestries. Oh, they just added, wall art, like everything under the sun that whatever supplier they're using can fulfill. And that's the complete opposite way to go. Like down the road, sure. But in the beginning, just like Jay's saying, you're designing for a specific product type is building up a skill set. So as you're becoming proficient in design, it's just like switching niches, like pivoting more than a basketball player. Like if you're switching your product type, every other design you're making, you're not building up like that skill set, opposed to if you just be disciplined about making 100, 200 designs of one specific product type and this is what I recommend to people, at the very least, get that product type to be like 100, 150 designs, get to the point where you're doing at least 5 to 10K a month in sales. This is Shopify, at least 5 to 10K a month in sales, and then maybe diversify into other things. But normally people are just chasing, like they want more sales, and we think that more sales will come from more product types. And it very, very, very rarely is the case.
More is not better. That's for sure.
Yeah, not on these. That's kind of a different approach for like an Amazon where it doesn't matter because there is no shop on Amazon because the shop is Amazon. Right. But for Etsy and Shopify, yeah, you're right.
Next up, we've got a Redbubble shop, Quantum Thread.
Yeah.
Got a little banner here. So in this case, we can not really comment much on the mock-ups because those are all preset.
But they do have a featured collection, which is nice. I would put your top sellers, or if you're doing something for Halloween or Christmas or something like that, something special. But they've got Year of the Dragon, so they're out early for 2020. Wait, is that? Oh, that's this year. I would change that to next year, I guess, because it's coming closer to next year instead of this year. Everybody that's bought Year of the Dragon probably bought it by now on.
So in this case, we'll focus more on the actual designs. Easily distract. Look, a scroll. That's pretty funny.
Oh, so they have a lot of. So I see this a lot with scaled design. So these are kind of like scaled designs on Redbubble, and typically Redbubble and TeePublic don't like that because it looks like it. When you're looking at their shop, it just looks like the same product, and it's just a different word that's changing. So I don't know. It's a tough one because I know people like scale designs, but it doesn't work that well for me, at least on Redbubble and TeePublic.
Yeah, also they've definitely moved away from that. I don't think they used to have a problem with it, but like the last few years, I don't think they really want people to push that anymore.
And especially TeePublic. I know we're going to talk about TeePublic next, but they if they see that, they will put you in the apprentice category. And I know there's categories now with Redbubble, and I'm going to guess that by doing that, you might be put in the lower categories too, which is kind of unfortunate.
Same with Spreadshirt, by the way. If you upload scale designs to Spreadshirt, they will reject them. So those are kind of better for Amazon if you've got a high tier account. But yes, some of these designs look good. Like I like this. This is a good kind of template that works for many different niches.
That's nice. That cruise enthusiast is kind of a cool design.
Some of them are a bit hard to read. Like this one, a lot of the text is very small. Here we've got a very thin font. I still have no energy, but the retired part looks cool.
Readability is key, because you can't really zoom in on the mock-ups here like you can in Etsy. So you definitely, it has to look good on their mock-ups, which, like you're saying, it's hard to read on most of these. So
yeah, this one as well. I know that kind of design, you kind of need a smaller font. That's the idea. But maybe if you can make the font slightly bolder, that would help. It looks extremely thin.
Yeah, and contrast too. Like if you have a dark words on a dark T-shirt, that would be tough to read.
I just noticed up in the search bar, it's just searching all these phrases, and I'm like, is Philip searching for these?
That's a new AI from Redbubble.
I was like, what are you doing, Philip? What are you searching for? What's going on?
Redbubble added that recently. Yeah, I saw that too before. I'm like, what? And they want you to search is kind of what they're like. Search for this. Search. Cool stickers though. The Japanese stickers look kind of cool. I've been guessing that's AI.
Yeah, but definitely some of your designs look good. Some of them are a bit harder to read, but they're not all bad. This looks pretty good to me. I like Paws, the Prophet, Rabbit are my spirit animal. Saw some other spirit animal ones. This looks like a cool one as well. And this one is a bit easier to read, like the small letters.
Are you able to choose your mock-up? Is it based on product type?
It's based on product type. You can choose what product you want to show. Like you can show the default product being a T-shirt, or you can. A lot of times people just let Redbubble choose. But
so, like on that one that we were looking at, the camping one, could you not pick a male shirt just so that it was more easy to read straight on?
You could pick a T-shirt. I don't know if it defaults to male, but I have to check on that. It usually has the male or the female, I think, if you pick
It's
T-shirt.
kind of hard to read a little bit.
Yeah. Can you scroll up and let's see if it do by most popular, most relevant, do most popular.
Best selling.
Yeah, best selling, sorry. So this is probably their best sellers. Maybe that's why it's up at the top. Those warning ones probably are their best sellers, but it's still, you still got a retired 2022 and a retired, there's a lot of multiple ones, which I'd be wary of.
Silverback art and design. So yeah, we've got some design examples in the banner. These look like posters to me.
Yeah, they do. TeePublic made a change where their shop banner is huge now. It's like almost twice as big as it used to be. And you don't have any links out to TeePublic, which it makes it feel like it's on its own store and not a TeePublic store. So you can see that it's not really a good way to kind of switch and go back and see any other people on TeePublic, which I think could be helpful.
So do you set your own banner or TeePublic sets it? You're saying
you make your own banner. But
cool.
It's a lot bigger than it was before. And this is TeePublic. They just do designs. That's their thumbnail.
Yeah.
You can choose the background color of the thumbnail, but that's it.
I still have some that are selling there but I haven't uploaded it and got to be close to 10 years now. But again, that's a testament to the evergreen stuff, right? Like the stuff that works 10 years later still sells. I still make like $100 or $150 a month from TeePublic.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, some of these smaller ones, they're hard to read.
Yeah, this text this layout with the text is a bit unimaginative in my opinion. You can probably lay that out in a better way where it's easier to read and looks more interesting.
Unlike Redbubble, TeePublic sells a lot more T-shirts and T-shirt focus, and so I would make sure that your designs are laid out in a way that would work good on a T-shirt. And you can also pick different colors for your background. You don't always have to pick black, which I see a lot of black here, and I know everything looks good on black, but I would also kind of change it up. You have black and white and stuff, but
yeah, like this unicorn example, that looks like a good design and it works well on the red.
Right.
Except for my last month,
Cool.
TeePublic has sent you $22 US.
Oh no!
Might have to go massage that beast again with some bestsellers I got.
I like TeePublic compared to Redbubble. I like TeePublic because there's like 3 different ways that you can make money on TeePublic. You can sell your stuff. You can also sign up for affiliates, so you can sell other people's stuff. And if you get people to sign up under you, there's also that you get $1 for each sale that someone signs up under you.
They also drastically reduced the royalties, right? So you might have to leverage a few avenues there.
Yeah, so TeePublic actually has 2 categories now, just like Redbubble has 3 categories. TeePublic has the apprentice and the artisan category. TeePublic's artisan category, you make $4 per sale on a t-shirt, but $2 when it's on sale. So they have a sale like every month too. So you don't know if you're getting a sale on a sale, but if you're in the apprentice category, you only make $3 on a t-shirt sale and $1 during a sale. So kind of
it's
janky.
pretty abysmal. Because they do run sales like 50% of the month.
Yes.
But yeah, generally, I think looking at your designs, you definitely have some designs that look really nice. Occasionally, there's text that's really tough to read, or you've put it on on a dark background when the text is also kind of dark blue. But yeah, like this design looks quite nice. This is an interesting layout. Like, there's some nice stuff in here. Week for food. Yeah, so you've got some good puns as well. But sometimes the layouts are a bit, in my opinion, like not very interesting or creative. Like this, the way this text is laid out doesn't look too attractive to me. I don't know, it's hard to describe.
You can sort and filter by most popular too up here. So I would suggest to do this on your own too, and like see what's selling on your end, and like, oh, this does really well. So maybe, do more of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool design.
Yeah. Which is probably why it's up at the top on the banner. Yeah, see, there a lot of more colors that you did before. So
these are all different background colors. That's right.
Cool.
Desert planet. All right.
Oh, it's kind of all over the place.
It looks like Tatooine.
Yeah, it does look like
Yeah,
Tatooine.
it did. Yeah,
You can get away with slightly more things on TeePublic and Redbubble than you can on Amazon for sure.
That's not supposed to be encouragement, by the way.
No.
Don't test it.
Don't test it. You don't want your shop to get taken down either.
Cute, trendy hoodies. Yeah, beach hoodies is an interesting angle, isn't it? First impressions, what do we think?
Beach hoodies. I hope they're very, very thin as hoodies for the beach. But is that supposed to be like beach designs on hoodies, or is that a hoodie you're supposed to take to the beach?
Can we go to like one of the collection pages, like maybe an all products page?
By the way, first impressions, I thought that the home screen, the homepage looked good. Nice design.
Yeah. And then are you on Chrome, Philip?
Yes.
Could you right click just anywhere and then do inspect?
Inspect element.
No, I put it in. I always look at it on mobile because 80+% of our traffic on Shopify always, So this is how the vast majority of people are actually shopping. And then, so I'll just go from top to bottom. So we drive all of our traffic to collection pages. It just converts better and has a higher average order value. So this is the screen. I'm picturing a phone. This is what people who are landing on your site, this is going to be their very first impression. So starting from the very top, instead of having welcome, overall, I like it, but I'll just go through a bunch of I'll rattle off a laundry list of things. Yeah, starting at the very top, this announcement bar, we like to utilize that for free shipping threshold. Like we set ours to $75. It depends entirely on what your costs are, shipping rates and all of that. But 75 gets us to our average order value that we shoot for, which is about $45. Then going down to the logo, I would shrink down the logo because if you scroll a little bit, Philip, and then scroll back up a tiny bit, if you scroll like halfway down, it'll show it. And then scroll up just a tiny bit. Yeah, see how it pops down? It doesn't seem like a big deal when we have like a desktop, but on mobile, that's taking up like the top quarter of their screen. So if you just shrink the logo, it'll help with that a lot. The overall name of the game is just simplicity, like we've been talking about earlier. Then next on the names of the products, it's not like Etsy or Merch by Amazon. I simplify all of them down to like 2 to 3 words max. It doesn't need to be
30 t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
And then just making the naming convention consistent. So not calling some a tee, others a t-shirt or tees, like just naming all of them the same thing. But yeah, 2 to 3 words. And then as for pricing, we price ours. It depends on what your costs are, but we sell our tees at $29.99. And then you can split test the choose options button there. We found that people actually don't really use them when it comes to apparel. Most people are adding to cart from the product page. So by removing that, again, everything that I'm saying, I would recommend just testing it, watch your conversion rate before and after you make the changes. But removing the choose options would be one good one. And then making the price a different color from the title. So like making it black or something that stands out a little bit more. Then scrolling a little bit further down, I like the mock-ups overall, which that would be something that I would watch the conversion rate, specifically the add to cart rate heavily. Because we break down the conversion rate into add to cart, initiate checkout, and reach checkout, and like converted. So add to cart rate would be the one that would be impacted by all these things we're talking about. And if you click on one of the pages,
the designs look nice.
Yeah, they do.
It's fairly simple as well, right? What we talked about earlier, 2 colors.
Yeah.
The layout isn't too cluttered. Nice fonts.
Nice Jersey Shore. Yeah. So here I like the other images. I would get rid of your brand name above it. Cute, trendy hoodies. You can just disable that in your product settings.
Oh, this bit.
Yep, right there. And then shop pay installments, I turn that off entirely because Shopify kind of pushes that, and like they're taking up prime real estate and not that many people use it. So I just disable that. Then as for colors, we'd want to shrink down these pills, either switch to drop downs or do like color swatches. So it's like the little circles, then removing the quantity selector. This helps us get back some space because they'll buy more than one thing on your site, but it's very rare that they'll buy the exact same product, same design, same size, and same color. So you only really need to, you don't need a quantity selector basically.
Also, if they want to buy more than one, I think most people understand the fact that they can go to cart and add another one from the cart itself.
Yeah.
Basically, the goal here is less space between the mock-up and the add to cart because there's a lot of clutter here, right?
Yeah.
So there is too much space between like the colors, like because if I'm at the colors, even if I'm at the lowest, like the highest point of seeing all the colors, I don't think I can see the colors changing that much.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, if you click
like
through
it's not that visible. If you would have erased that cute trendy hoodies thing, if you would erase that shop thing, it would have been higher. So I can actually see a difference if I switch between the colors to see the colors. Switch on the hoodie.
Also, shorter title would help with that as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If you didn't have 2 lines here.
Yeah, you could just do Atlantic City hoodie. Would be perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else down here?
Yeah.
There's a link to Etsy.
Etsy.
Oh yeah, delete.
Why?
Yeah, delete that right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of this. There's good stuff in here, good things to have, but just consolidating it a lot. So going back up to the top of the description, right here, I would have like 4 to 5 bullet points with emojis calling out like the key product features, like super short, succinct, like 6 to 8 words per line, no more. And then, taking all the other information and putting it into accordions or like drop down.
Definitely not a keyword stack. I mean, Jersey Shore tee sweatshirt, bestie hoodie, respect the local hoodie, ocean beach sweatshirt. This is just a dump of keywords.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Oh yeah, that looks like it is. Do they have a mock-up of this on a guy, or is it only on a girl?
No, it's just the colors and girls.
Okay, so don't call something unisex because it was stated that it's a unisex. Yeah, I would never post the word unisex unless I show it on both genders because it's a different fit on a man or something.
I think it is important to know that it's unisex sizing, though, compared to women's sizing, because that can fit different, though.
Yeah, but if it's unisex sizing and if it's a unisex sizing, why not show it on a man?
Yeah, but if it's like a design meant just for a woman, but it happens to be unisex sizing, I think that might be fair.
Why is there also so much gap between the texts? Like if you go down, what is that?
Yeah, I think it's just copy and pasted.
Yeah, someone copy paste from Etsy. Please read the
I would pretty much
description.
I would pretty much remove all of this.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this hoodie sweatshirt is not oversized. See? The sizing is not oversized. They wrote something like this. If you go up a little bit, this hoodie sweatshirt sizing is not oversized, but then they wrote up that it's an oversized sweatshirt. Now, if I were to go to a store and I would see that something, because they wrote oversized hoodie in one of the places in the text, if I would go somewhere and it says an oversized hoodie, this hoodie is not oversized, I would leave the store. Like you lose credibility when you contradict yourself, because higher up, they did say that it's oversized, like an oversized hoodie. They wrote it a lot higher, I think, at the beginning. So if you write that something is oversized, and then you say that it isn't oversized.
This is an example. Wow. That drop down. This is what we want. We want to have like 3 of these. And when you delete all the stuff that's above it, these drop downs will then be like immediately underneath your add to cart button.
Is that you want? Is that a different language, or is that, what is that? Souffle croissant, donut
sweet shortbread gummy bears. Okay.
I thought it was a bit lorem ipsum at the beginning, but yeah.
I think it's filler text. I don't know what happened here, but it's not.
Lemon
Maybe
drops pudding Danish is a very good shipping policy.
Yeah, so the drop downs that we have is shipping details is a good one to have when it doesn't mention croissants. And then
and lemon lollipops.
And then sizing, and then one about our return policy. Those are 3 good ones to start with, and then having just your short 4 to 5 bullet points with emojis. Keeping in mind that this is not, we don't care about, it depends on what your traffic strategy is, but we drive all of ours from Facebook and email marketing and Google. So we don't really care about SEO. So I don't care about like keywords and stuff, including it. It's different than with Etsy. And then the share button, we get rid of this, because picturing all this should be all directly underneath the add to cart button. So getting rid of the share button. And then you might also like the recommended product section, making it the same color. We don't need it a different background color here. And then if you want to scroll down a little bit more, Philip.
There was actually an issue up there. If we can go back, if you go back to the starred thing, the last 3 starred, please make sure this information is correct before placing your order. Please make sure your information is correct. Please read our FAQs and policies. If you write something that you want people to read, then it needs to be under that, and it's not. As always, please contact me. I feel like a lot of people don't really make the transition from a personal person who's selling something to a brand. I'm not saying like, I don't think none of this should be written here, but if you are coming as a brand, as Cute Hoodies, or I forgot the name of that brand, you should never say me.
Yeah, contact
unless you're selling, contact us for things. Yeah. But again, a lot of this I feel like is from handmade Etsy 10 years ago. Like it looks like an Etsy listing from 10 years ago, the phrasing of these things. Because there is no FAQ section under this for this product.
Yeah.
I mean, the product page is done.
I think that was a ton of tips there. So we'll probably move on to the next store. Not that it probably sounds very negative, but I think generally the designs are decent.
The design is cute.
The branding looks good. The homepage looked great to me. It's just tidying up some of the messy product pages, because this is where people buy, right? So you want these to be as good as possible.
Yeah, and the most important thing by far is the quality of the designs. Everything that we're talking about is just things that'll improve the conversion rate, and conversion rate optimization comes down to a million little things. Which is why looking at sites, it's normally like just a laundry list of stuff. It's not that overall, I think you're heading in a great direction, and everything we just talked about is like very learnable skills. You just
like everything we said is like literally something that the person can remove in like a few minutes. Like all the comments, all the bad negative comments were things that the person can just go and delete or rearrange. It wasn't like the designs are bad or like we don't like anything. It was easily fixed issues.
This is coffee blends. Got mugs.
Adobe?
Yeah, that confused me a little bit. Adobe Dregs Coffee. Mugs and merch, t-shirts and hoodies, stash. And
embrace the beans. I like that one. Are they allowed to use Adobe there?
So it looks like it's an actual coffee store, right?
Yeah.
Unless this is really good AI.
You have print-on-demand coffee. You're just basically labeling it's one of those like the consumables. You can actually sell coffee beans, and you design like the box.
Yeah, Print to Buy has them.
I think also Zazzle has them. I think Sticker Mule. No, I think Sticker Mule has the sauce. But I think, a lot of companies are starting like consumables right now. Embrace the beans.
Here's a good tip for anybody who's starting with Shopify or just has a product idea in mind. Like coffee is a good example, and I can give feedback on like how well I think that'll perform, but that'd just be based on my subjective opinion. The way that you can get feedback from the market very quickly and cost effectively is taking like all the product images that you have and throwing them in a low budget testing campaign in Facebook. And even before you put it up like on the site and do all the work that you've already done, next time that you have new product ideas, throw it in an ad and just see what the response is. Just see what the cost per clicks are. Like that's what we did with a lot of our old stores. If we had an idea before we would go out and build out, like for example, we did a tie-dye brand. Before we built the whole store, set up the supply chain and everything, we just launched some ads with just mock-ups like that, very basic, just to see, is there demand for this at all? Do people like the thing that we're about to put out there? And then when we see if the cost per clicks are like 50 to 75 cents in the US, then that's a good sign that there's something there. And then we'll turn off the ads and then go and build out the site. And that's a really good way that you can save yourself a ton of time. I know it's intimidating anytime we talk about Facebook ads, but it doesn't have to be. Again, 21-hour course hopefully makes it user-friendly. It's somewhere in there. It could be hour 3 or 21, but it's in there. But yeah, launching with low budget testing ads, it helps you save a ton of time to validate if the product is something that's worthwhile or not. So me personally, when I look at the coffee, I don't know how well it'll do, but it's definitely something I would test.
Did you notice the logo on banner similar thing? Like it was identical?
Yeah.
On the homepage, the logo is on the banner and they're just identical. It just looks like the photo is like repeating itself in echo or something.
Yeah, on the other layout.
You went to the main page, both layouts, even mobile and desk. See, the logo is the banner. Even when you go to mobile, it even looks a bit off, more off. If you go to mobile view,
Yeah.
see, I would definitely not use a photo as a logo. I mean, a logo should be something that is the name of the company and is readable. Like a logo is not a photo that represents the logo, I guess.
Yeah. So going top to bottom, starting with the announcement bar at the top you were just looking at, Philip. If that's the case that you're only able to ship to the US, you should set up like blocking traffic from other countries. Now, if that's just for one product type.
No, but these are just for the coffee blends because they do have mugs and hoodies and t-shirts here. Yeah.
Just for one product type. I've gone the route of trying to block specific collections for some countries, but it's possible, but it is a technical nightmare. It's much easier said than done. So just something.
But what if you want to buy something for someone? Like, what if I'm in Bulgaria and I want to buy this coffee for a friend in the US?
Yeah, I would just block it. The US is big enough. And that's on it. That's where we start. We start with validating every idea with just US traffic. And then once we know we have something there, if there's with print on demand, it's easy. You can just expand internationally very quickly. But if it's other product types, then you're looking at like building out a supply chain internationally, which is just a whole nother can of worms. But on the site specifically, that announcement bar, back to everybody's on mobile, that's their first impression of your brand. So that's not what we want to have there. We want to have something like about a discount or deal or free shipping. And then next, the logo. I'll just take the Adobe Dregs coffee, just that text. That's a fine logo for a starting point. That should be what's in the banner or in the logo header. Yeah. And then if you go to the collection page, let's just go to the apparel collection page. Yeah. So make the whole site, the background should be white and not black. You can Google, there's lots of split tests on this about white versus dark background sites, and white, long story short, white converts better. It looks cool, but white converts better. And that's what we care about. And then next on is this a product page or a collection page?
It's just a t-shirt and hoodie stash. That's all it is.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, I would get mock-ups, not just the normal, just white background. That maybe this is from Printify, but having a really good mock-up is key, like we've already talked about. Then next is having two products side by side. We don't want to just have one where they're scrolling through. Get rid of the product description there. Set the prices to be higher than they are. Remove unisex soft style from the product title. It should just be whatever those first couple words are. And then t-shirt. That should be the product title. And then, two products side by side. Get rid of the descriptions, and we can click on a product page.
This is the mobile view.
That's interesting. Is this Shopify?
It looks different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't.
Yeah, so we want to have one primary product photo that's filling the full screen. The title should be larger. It's very easy to skip over that. Yeah, and then I do like the color swatches. This is what we were talking about on the previous store. This looks really nice. And then I like the scrolling add to cart button that they have at the bottom, a sticky scrolling add to cart, but we want to have that just show up once they start scrolling, and we should still have a static add to cart or call to action button on the page. Yeah, like it should be somewhere around there. Same thing as before, remove the quantity selector. Yeah, the add to cart button should be directly above the payment icons you have.
I don't think this is Shopify.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I checked. I'm looking at the built with data for this website. So it says that the content delivery network and the content management system is GoDaddy Website Builder. It is connected to my Shopify for like it's a verified link to my Shopify. But yeah, it's GoDaddy Websites, the management system.
We were fooled. Well,
okay.
but
yeah, first step then.
Built with never fails.
To Shopify.
But generally, this product page looks a bit tidier and cleaner than the previous one we looked at, right? So
yeah, it's just all that it's doing is just a lot simpler.
Cool. And
I would definitely add recommended products at the bottom too.
Yeah, underneath this, and you would have this sticky one and one on the page because some people wouldn't find this sticky one, or why?
Yeah, you want to have one. The sticky is optional. The one you absolutely definitely want to have is one that's static on the page, like sitting right above just like a normal Shopify page.
Yeah, it's like a reflex. You want to click somewhere here, but it's missing, right?
Yeah, and it should be color isolated, meaning it's the only color. That color that appears on the button should not appear anywhere else on the site. So it really stands out like a sore thumb. And then it should be the same color call to action button at every step in the funnel. So on the product page, the cart page, checkout should be the same exact shade. Especially for Shopify sellers, something to look at is your checkout button color. It's under a different umbrella of settings. So that's a common one that people miss. And so it'll be like green button, like turquoise blue. And it's just weird, like lack of congruency through the funnel.
Like a really bright color, ideally. You used a bright green in your course, right? Something
yeah, like green or red are two go-tos.
Okay, cool. Let's jump, unless you've got something else to look at, we could jump to some Etsy stores.
I think the biggest advice for that was to switch to Shopify, right?
Yeah. And honestly, most of the stuff that we're talking about, if you just go with like the basic Shopify theme,
yeah,
it looks like a 5th grade computer science project, but it converts really well. Like it's super simple, but I used to make big, beautiful sites that I thought were cool. Again, designing for myself and not others. And it converted terribly. And then when I finally just one day stripped everything out, conversion rate skyrocketed. Because you have to keep in mind that what we're doing, it depends on your traffic source. But if you're running Facebook ads, what you're doing is pattern interrupt or impulse buy shopping, which is very different than search, find, buy, like on Etsy, where people are seeking you out and then they're comparing you against the competition. We're getting in front of people who are in between scrolling cat videos and family photos, and then they're just seeing the design going, oh, I like that. And then the only question in their mind when it's a low price point product is like, do I trust this site? Does it actually meet what I was expecting? Is it a fast site? Is it easy to get the checkout? Those are the real things that people are looking for. And so it's how do we convey those things with as little text or like work on the shopper's end.
Right. Thanks for the breakdown of that store. Finally, we got Chris to review something.
Nice.
And now back to Etsy, so you can mute yourself.
Okay.
Bye. So we've got the first one here, which is Pub Style Heaven. 10 sales. Haven. Oh, yeah. I can't read. 10 sales, so probably new shop. Announcement was on the 30th of September. First of all, what we're thinking about the landing, the banner logo.
Says nothing about what's in the store. I mostly like banners that like if I see something like this, I would think it's for an artist and that's like their abstract art style. For people who sell like clothes or several items, I would definitely like just either put 5 different mock-ups or there are these mock-ups of like multiple people together. And also with the logo, it's not really readable. I feel like people are trying to make something like very complex, like a photo that shares the colors and has this, where you can do that when you're like putting banners in places and when you're putting it on Instagram or somewhere, but a logo has to be incredibly simple and readable right from the bat. And the banner should represent what is happening. Is there a sale happening right now? What are the products that are being sold? And I feel like I'm not seeing any of it here. And
yeah, so this is for anyone that loves dogs, and it doesn't sell the dogs aspect very much in the first view.
Yeah,
Even if it's just send like a photo of dogs from like, I don't know, Pixabay.
Yeah, I think a quick revamp to show some of your products is great for the banner, but on Etsy, your branding isn't quite as important as things like Shopify, since the majority of the time it is the search, find, buy, like Chris was talking about. And so just looking more at the listing, since a lot of people shop your listing more than your shop, I'd say is probably a little bit more important. Your branding is nice because people do come to your shop and shop your shop. So, it is good when they get there to see some things. So I like to do the Etsy Plus. So it's like $10 a month, but you get a bunch of free listings. You get some advertising budget for that. And it allows you to have 3 banners that you can actually scroll between, and then they're clickable. So you could be like, our Christmas collection's out now, shop now. And you can actually click it and it can bring you to a collection or can bring you to a listing. So like in my mock-up store that I have on Etsy, I have my banner be an advertisement for my whole shop bundle. And then they can click it and go to that one listing. So I think I really like those types of banners. I just think they're nice. But coming down to your listings, I think some better mock-ups might be in order. I think these ones are okay, but the one with the 2 people, I think definitely is a problem. It's not really optimized for the thumbnail. You kind of have to think thumbnail first when it comes to Etsy. And so I think getting mock-ups that fit really well into the thumbnail, because you can see it's really small here on the screen. And you can kind of read that it says like Spooky Brew Crew, but I think a mock-up where it was maybe like a flat lay or people closer to each other would be a lot better for the thumbnail.
Yeah, they're kind of like turned away from the camera, and the center of the screen is just nothing. On a phone, I think you'd struggle to figure out what this is. One thing that caught my eye is this, in terms of the colors. I think the design doesn't work very well on this bright green shirt. So maybe like thinking more about your color choices or the primary thumbnail, the primary color for the thumbnail. That should always look best. Like the best kind of color for the design.
I'm putting together a training for my students on Tuesday. And so this is really fresh in my mind that on Etsy, I think it's really important to really design with your thumbnail in mind. So pick a proven combination for your thumbnail. So one proven combination in that type of niche is like a sand colored shirt with a brown design on it. That's really, really popular. Another one that's really popular just all the time is like a green colored shirt with white text. And so it's like knowing that your thumbnail image, the first one, is really optimized for what sells well, I think is important. I think it's fun that you have like a yellow shirt and a green shirt. But my guess is the reason you're doing this is because you want people to come to your store and you don't want everything to look the same. But if you actually look at the top stores on Etsy, 99% of the time, you're going to see the same mock-up over and over and over again. It's kind of like what Chris was saying with like keeping it really simple and optimized. Like it's easy to think like, oh, people think this. Make all your decisions based on the research. The stores that are really successful find a few mock-ups that do really well for them, and they just use it over and over again because that one just converts super well. Like don't feel like you need to do a different mock-up for every single listing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and on the simplicity point as well, a lot of these designs are very cluttered and they have a lot of unnecessary effects, like a lot of drop shadows. The layout of this is quite confusing. Some of the fonts are very difficult to read, especially if you have smaller text like this or this right here. It's really important that the font is actually legible, which in these cases I think isn't really the case.
Like your Club Pups design, that one's really fun and simple. It's like up on the left there, the pillow, I think it is, up to.
This
that
one.
Pillow, yeah, I think it's a really good design. I probably would have made the Club Pups in the state, or if that's a dog, I would have made that white probably instead. Because again, just kind of keeping things simple, like an all white design on green. I think simple really does sell. Like that ornament, I can't quite read it because you're doing like a blue text on white isn't going to stand out as much as like black, for example. So I think just simplifying your designs a little bit could go a long way. Like really good, just like in your face text, but a little bit simpler and easier to read, I think it would go a long way in your store. But great job getting a bunch of listings out there. Like you're in a bunch of different niches. But I might kind of hone in on your product type, because I think as a new seller, it can be really confusing to learn what sells well in a shirt, what sells well in a pillow, what sells well in a mug, what sells well in an ornament. I think you're spreading yourself a little bit thin. I think you can have multi-product stores on Etsy, and I do recommend that. But I think starting out, picking one product and getting really good at it first can make a really big difference to optimize for that.
Hey guys, I know you guys really need my expertise for the Etsy reviews.
No, don't leave.
I do have another meeting I have to hop off for.
That's fine.
But thank you for having me, Phil. It's nice chatting with you guys. Thank you, everybody who's watching. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you, Chris.
The first thing I'll say about this banner is that the goose trend on Etsy has been bonkers for the last year. So I love that you hopped on the goose trend and put that right in your banner there. That's so funny. I've not seen that one. And so I love that kind of play on the silly goose trend. Festive goose on the loose. Oh my gosh.
Also
you have
great.
the announcement thing. Remember, you see that? Please order by December 9th to ensure your items arrive before Christmas. I feel like you guys talked about it in the last council, because I wasn't in the last one. I was still sick, but I was watching it. So you guys were talking about if it's a smart thing or not to just put the cutoff date or something like that much in advance. And also, I don't know where they're shipping to or what products they're shipping, but is that the cutoff date for everything, no matter where I'm from? So I don't know if I would put it that much there. I would just write Christmas is coming, like shop fast or something, and then maybe put it in individual items, not in like the main header.
Okay.
Yeah, I think December 9th is a pretty safe cutoff date. You know, I doubt this person's shipping internationally. Maybe they are, but a lot of Etsy sellers do just sell to the US. So that could be why.
If you're doing it, like if it would have been Printful and it's in Europe, I think from ordering something to getting it here, the longest I've ever had to wait was 9 days. From like including production, the longest I had to wait is 9 days.
Even in peak time, like even if you order early December,
the longest I had to wait was 9 days.
Nice.
I don't think I've ever gotten anything after 9 days. So yes, December 9th is definitely like a safe cutoff, but I don't know if I would put it in the title. I would not try it because I get the whole like let's get people to start buying sooner, but maybe I'll just say like start your Christmas shop early or make sure you have all the goodies for Christmas. I wouldn't put a cutoff date, but I would put like buy now, not buy December 9th, but get it now.
Also, I'd say this banner is a better example of an Etsy banner to the previous one, because you have something about the brand, you have examples of actual products and designs.
I like the anti-Klaus.
The anti-Klaus. And it also matches the mock-ups very well, like the color scheme.
Oh, literally, you just said you like green and the beige brown.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Green, white, beige, brown.
Green are like the best thumbnail images to use on Etsy this year, especially those folded mock-ups that she's using, the top left one.
That's why you're wearing your sweater? Did you match like the colors of your sweater to the colors that are trending on Etsy?
That's funny. Yeah. I think this is
both did.
But yeah, no, the green and the white. Your mock-ups look great. I love that you're using like proven mock-ups. I think that's awesome. I see a lot of great things here. Personalization on a lot of things. You're doing sleeve prints, which is a great value add. I will say there's a teeny bit of problem with being able to read things from the thumbnail. So like looking at that coquette football one on the right in the green, the pink isn't so easy to read. I probably would have just done white text on the sleeve. Again, I think the pink and pink is cute, but we need to optimize for easy to read. And if you scroll up a little bit, a few of your ornaments, the top ones, I can't read what those say. So being really careful with the text that you use is important, because ornaments are already really small. I think the mock-ups are great, but I think simplifying your design a little bit would have been better, because I can't read what those say. I'm assuming it says our first Christmas is Mr. and Mrs., but it doesn't quite catch your attention when you're scrolling through. You kind of want big, bold. I think your ornament below that, the our first Christmas engaged, super easy to read. I can read that one.
And just as a note there, the reason being, like, I don't think the text size is that much different, but here it's more of a wider font, right? And this is a very, very condensed one. If you've got teeny tiny text, condensed fonts tend to be way harder to read, especially if they're this thin.
Yeah.
Stick to something that is the opposite of condensed.
Also, the mistake in the banner is brilliant, because if you look at the engaged one, it's actually showing us a cutoff of that banner, right? If you look at the right side of it, it shows the banner was cut off from the main image. Like it says like ships fast. If you go down to the engaged ornament.
Oh, you're just saying the little ornament there. Yeah, the ships fast. Yeah, it wasn't optimized.
So because it was cut off, it's not perfect, which is why you would look at it more. So the non-perfect things attract more attention, because if you look at all of these like 12 different photos, the first thing I looked at was the engaged one, and it wasn't because the word drew my attention. It was because there is like a mistake in the alignment of this like thumbnail or cover image. So which is, if it was I used to do these things a few years ago on purpose.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a great trick with psychology. Even when I was working for big media companies, we would actually see better results with a photo that has a little bit of a mistake on it on Facebook ads. This, I don't know if that person did it on purpose, but this is brilliant, because that's the first thing you see, because it also has your instinct to want to click on it, because you see a text that starts somewhere, but you can't really read the text, like the ship's fast. You can't really read it because the SH is missing. And then there are things on the side. It's kind of like that old blogging trick where you would put like text and then a photo that goes down, but you can't see how the photo ends. You have to continue scrolling. So if you're looking at this, the text is missing. You see some stuff on the side. It has so many information, and you don't have that information. Psychologically, you would want to click. So that mistake, if it was a mistake, leave it. It's brilliant. And don't make all of them in this mistake. It's good to have just some of these spread around, because it's kind of like snaps out. If a person is like scrolling, this will snap them out and make them stop.
That's interesting. And I wonder what you think about that as well, Cassie, because in this case where you can barely read the text, I would have thought, people will have that psychological thing of like, I want to know what it says. They'll click on it, and then potentially, because that says first Christmas, that's not what they're looking for. It's quite an important part of the design, right? It's about someone's first Christmas as Mr. and Mrs. So
I think
it's curiosity.
Oh, go ahead.
So they click out of curiosity and then are less likely to convert, because it's a very specific design for that, right?
Potentially. I'd say, when you're shopping on Etsy, again, people are coming here for something really specific. In that case, someone probably is looking for a first Christmas engaged ornament. Like they might even literally type that in. And so when you're stacked up against your competition, like looking at your store right now is fun, but this isn't where most of your customers are going to find you. It's by finding your store first and looking through your shop. That's very unlikely. So it's going to be you next to a bunch of other ornaments that maybe they can read really easy from the thumbnail that catches their attention. So, I wouldn't say necessarily that it's going to like get them to click on it with the text being smaller. I think that's going to hurt your conversion rate of someone clicking it in the first place. But I do think she has a really great way of adding value. I think that's important. We were kind of talking about that earlier. I like that you did the Roman numerals hoodies. Those sell super well, but you added your own little value there with the custom state sleeve. So I think you've got a good grasp on how to add value. I can definitely tell you're doing your research. You're doing like the coquette, the bows, you're mixing that with other niches. That's super, super smart. You're doing the social club style, you're doing the in my era and mixing that with other things. So I think you're really, really on the right track with combining different elements of things that you've seen be successful in unique ways. I think you're doing a good job. I love that you're running a daily or some kind of sale. I know we're not opening any of your listings. Running a sale in your shop is really great. I think your mock-ups are really great. You're doing pocket designs and back designs. Looks like you're mostly focusing on one product, which is mostly apparel. I love to see that. So I think I'm seeing a lot of really good things here. Can you see how old this shop is, Philip?
No,
you click on one of your listings and then use the Everbee analyze feature, analyze listing, and then go to shop details. It's up at the top, 16 months. So yeah, I think you're doing a lot of stuff. I don't know how many of these listings are new versus old, but I think you're really on the right track with what you're doing. You're using all your mock-ups.
Yeah, and the designs are also great, like very simple, not too overdone like some of the other examples we had. Most of them are just one or two colors. Awesome. I think that concludes this shop review. Right, I think this is a good example of a shop that's heading in the right direction, and I hope you have a good Q4.
I like
Skipping Flamingo apparel and gifts.
it.
Nice looking banner.
Very nice.
Would be maybe nice to see a couple of products as well on these sides, but like visually it looks nice. The shop is by Suki. I recognize you from the Discord group. Thanks for submitting a shop. We've got United Kingdom, 16 sales so far. T-shirts.
Okay.
Different niches, it looks like.
Yeah.
Can I just say, like, I expected things to be, you know, based on the banner. I expected things to be like pink and with flamingos,
Yeah.
I guess. I expected more feminine stuff, I guess. Like from the first look, I expected to see like a lot of, I don't know, even seeing like, I even thought it would be like posters or something. It's very like boho, I don't know, 6 years ago, Society 6 trending, the design of the banner. So kind of surprised to see this, but definitely what Philip said, to have like more mock-ups in the banner at least.
The style is definitely more of a style that I would use to target men. The fonts and the graphics.
Yeah, there's a couple of things here too, like just with the structure of the whole thing. So your shop sections, you've got like, 1 to 3 items, and a lot of them you can fill the shop sections, right? So respect your customers' time, because you've got literal seconds to capture their sales. So if they have to click into dark academia and only have one listing there, it's a waste of their time, right? So I would like fill those out and try to have something. You can't just put a same aesthetic necessarily across a myriad of niches. I don't think that's, I would design with the customer in mind, right? And the golden rule for me is to make shirts that when somebody sees them, they say, "Holy crap, where'd you get that shirt?" Right? Like you want to really stand out and resonate. But for me, I mean, all my shops are only niched, so it's hard for me to see the same kind of design aesthetic or color across a ton of niches that way. It just doesn't. Some of them make sense and some of them just don't, right? But same with what May was saying. I feel like I was getting into definitely a more feminine vibe, and then there's nothing in there. But then you only have gifts and accessories in the banner, I think, as well. When I think displaying some of what you're selling would make a lot of sense that way.
I think she commented on the sidebar, right? Is that the SM? She said she started with different designs to see what sells. It was very girly designs over on Zazzle. So yeah, so the banner style and also some of the stuff that are here would be great for Zazzle. But I feel like they're also I'm more with what Jay says. Like things are more like focused to a niche whenever I do stuff. So it's kind of like a lot of things are jumbled up. But I guess obviously Etsy is also a marketplace and it's a different approach to stores. I definitely wouldn't expect these designs from the beginning. Like you're scrolling over and I think like we're in different stores.
Yeah,
it's a little confusing, I think. Yeah, but also
if this is the experimenter phase, sometimes you get new styles at the beginning, you still learn what works, and you know what? If you do something like this and you come up with it going like, okay, I sold this amount of this style and this amount of this style, maybe next year the niche from that, and that becomes the thing from what sells the most, and to expand more on that, because if you have a total of what is it, 68 designs? So you have a total of 68 designs and they're all in very different niches. So maybe at the end of this year or at the end of the next, again, everybody with how much they feel comfortable being like let's call it the proof of concept. But if you see like this niche or these 2 niches are selling more, okay, maybe now it's the time to take these designs and make sweatshirts and hoodies and an opposite color for this design to sell it on a white t-shirt and put it on a mug or stuff like that, and then more expand to that, because I feel like the age of everybody just being able to make a t-shirt store is kind of losing it with the volume of people. And if you're talking about repeat customers, it will definitely be to repeat to buy something that I liked but differently, for a boyfriend, for a dad, for myself in the winter. So I definitely think that it's a lot of things together. And if this is the experimental phase, because she said she was coming from Zazzle, go ahead, experiment, because on Zazzle you can have like very easily multiple stores, and it's a whole different logic when you design things there. I would recommend to periodically see what works and then say, okay, this is my niche, or these are the few designs that work, and create more products for them and batch them in the categories. Just give people more options to spend more money if they find a design that they like.
For sure. Yeah. Then that's part and parcel with filling out the shop sections, right? So if somebody's going to buy something, ideally you want them to buy 2 or 3 elements in that same shop section, right? If you're doing a general store, you're basically treating every shop section like its own niche store in that respect. So you definitely want to, make enough. So if, exactly what May's saying, if you see any kind of pattern in your sales history, then blow up those niches first, right? That's where I would focus first.
I was just going to ask the Etsy pros what you think of the listing page and the keywords description. How does that look to you?
So for me, at least, I mean, like I have a bit of a different approach to it. So through my experience with Etsy, the main thing that people like to do, they just search for something in search, and then they find it, and then on a listing level, they purchase it if they want it. So there's mainly 2 variables that we need to think about. There's more to it, but if we're gonna break it down, there's 2 things. It's the offer and it's basically the design. And those are mainly the 2 things. The rest are, in my opinion at least, would be like sprinkles on top. It's good to have them, but it shouldn't be like the main focus. So I'd focus like top down. So first off, making sure that if we look at the design, you have like the sunset that looks great. And I mean, like, how I do everything is just to see elements that work here, take elements that work here, and then combine them into something new. Because I base all decisions are from a commerce perspective for me, not from an artist point of view, so to speak. So I just take things that work here, and then put them up on the platform. So I would focus on doing that first, with making sure that the design research is there. But mainly, I think the mockups. If we look at the second part of this, which would be like the offer itself, I think I have a tried and true way to just find mockups, and it's basically just to see, like, if you search up, for instance, the railroading retirement gift, or like retirement gift for dad or something like that, and then you see that, okay, 5 out of these best-selling listings have the exact same mockup. Usually you can find that on Etsy. Just buy that mockup and use that as the thumbnail. And then in the offer, I would highly recommend, because people are still not doing that, which I think is crazy, but use a guarantee. That just says, if you're unhappy for any reason, you can contact us within 7 to 14 days and get either a refund or a replacement. That really ups the conversion rate if you're a more seasoned seller. But in your case, it will basically offset a lot of the risk from the customer from buying from you, because at this stage, when you have 0 reviews, the customer has a lot of risk when buying from you, because they don't know what they're actually gonna get, since there are no reviews.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A guarantee would be great, making sure that mainly the thumbnail is there. And I would also like.
Would you add that guarantee as like one of the mock-ups? So
yes, I have a whole process for that too. But basically, every image, I would just start off like condensing everything down into 3 images, because people, you basically just scroll through really fast. They don't read anything. They need to be able to grasp something within like the first 5 seconds to actually like purchase. So the thumbnail needs to be great. And if you can get them into the listing, it's really important that you have a size chart and a guarantee. And if you have that, I would just focus on like using tried and true mockups for those 3 listings, because as an example, I'm not trying to like be critical, but basically how it looks from a customer's point of view, that I've like learned with my AC journey, when you see a size chart that looks this, it's a bit overwhelming to look at this much text, because they are just looking at their phone like 90% of the time, and they just want to purchase something for their relative or for their friend or something like that. So having like a really simple size chart that also displays the design, for instance, would be a great way to like lessen the text. Plus, there's really few people that really buy 4X and 5X, and they also always go out of stock, like for instance in Q4. So I'd recommend just to having XS to 3XL, just basically simplifying everything into a much simpler form.
Just make one for inches and one for make one banner for centimeters and one banner for inches, and then you solve half of the issue of the crowdiness, I guess.
Yeah, like separate.
I would even go one step further and get rid of the metric. Like just do inches.
I agree with Jay for sure.
I'm Canadian, right? So
really? So Juna is the only one from the States here now?
No, I'm in Sweden. So,
but I'm just saying the largest consumers on the planet is the United States. So I would cater everything that way, right? That's 100%. Get rid of the metric.
I agree 100%.
Use it. And then I would move it up to the second or third image, though, so at least they see it quickly. Because to Andreas's point, no one's going to hit that 10th image slot.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so much easier, because it feels I felt really overwhelmed at the beginning. If you just think that you need 3 things, you need a mock-up that's tried and true, So something that's like, if you search for funny retirement gifts for dad or shirts for dad, then you might find 5 listings that has the exact same mock-up from different shops. Buy that specific thumbnail and get it yourself from Etsy, from the seller that sells it on Etsy. That's the first image. Then you need a size chart. You can buy that also off of Etsy, like something that looks a bit more like condensed and a bit more female targeted, because 80% of this, like the buyers are female. And then you need a guarantee. That's that's the main the main offer that you really need in 2025, in my opinion. But it's basically 3 images, so I think that makes it a little less easy. A little more easy to just progress this whole thing without feeling too overwhelmed.
All right, let's try and come some other shops as well. So
can I do just on the homepage? I think I'm not an Etsy seller, but if we go back to the homepage and then do all or something, I noticed something real quick.
This?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah. Do all.
Oh, I'm on the second page. That's why. You mean this?
Yeah, I noticed, and I'm not on Etsy, so maybe the Etsy people can help me. But I noticed you got featured items here, and then when you go down, there's the same one. Yeah. So it feels like you're not using that featured items or that top spot really well. You're repeating.
But when it comes to the most recent ones, though, if you have like either listed it first or someone has actually purchased, like the most recent ones when it comes to all items are always gonna be like the most recently sold ones, because they always renew basically when you sell something.
The most recently renewed.
So would you change out the featured ones then?
So by default, it should be on relevancy. So right now you have it set to recent, most recent, but by default, usually it's
it without realizing like before.
But like I would like want to just point out that this part, no one really, in my opinion at least, maybe it's just me, but no one really like watches your shop. Everyone buys off of a listing level. So like for instance, last year, for instance, when I wrote my holiday cutoff lines, like my Q4 deadlines for Christmas in my shop banner, or that announcement part there that you see. No one reads that stuff. But so this year, for instance, I just changed my processing times to accommodate for like the holiday deadlines, because everything happens on a listing level. I have really few people that actually enters my store, because everything happens on search basically. In my opinion,
I have a completely different experience. Everybody comes back and buys more from my shop. It's very much niched. 5 shops and they're all niched, right? And with repeat customers.
That's the whole point of niche.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
That's really cool.
And I'll list something and have it sell in an hour or well, my wife in an hour usually, but I'm like within that day, a day or two, right? Like it's because I'm listening to the customers. They've asked for it multiple times. I make a listing for it and it's going to speak to them, right? But yeah, and completely. But with the Christmas banners, I just want to say like about 4 years ago, I stopped blasting all of that, because you're effectively creating friction when there would otherwise be none. So like, especially if you're in a general store, it sounds like you are, with like a lot of competition out there, if somebody's on the fence about buying something that's similar design from 2 different shops, you have a big red banner or something. Not saying you, Andreas, but like in general, as Etsy sellers, a lot of them do, will just blast Christmas cutoff on this day. You will see your sales flatline the very next day, or even like the day before, and there's just no need to cut yourself off the knees that way, right? Like I don't blast anything like that. I don't introduce any kind of doubt or friction. I want to be somebody's go-to point at all times. And it just makes sense. Like if somebody's on the fence about it, they're definitely going to be picking the shop that doesn't say that your item may or may not get there in time, right? So as soon as I stop doing that, my sales will just go to like, mid-January, early January at least. I think it's detrimental to blast all the Christmas cutoffs in your shop for sure.
Yeah, and that's also like a huge learning. Like I've never heard anyone even experience that thing that you said, Jay. That they go to your shop, because that's a whole different ballgame, like niching down your store. So it just also just proves that in the end, we all have different ways to succeed on the platform, and there's no tried and true way.
Yeah.
This is the next one called Pretty Abrasive Designs.
Nice.
Cleveland, Ohio, nearly 300 sales. And there's some notebooks, journals, which is Great for you, May, I guess. One of your favorite products.
I don't know if you also noticed the whole ovary theme in the top,
I saw that.
both with the logo and with the one on the left.
Oh, I didn't
what
notice the
thing?
logo.
The logo kind of looks like ovaries.
It does. Now that you mention it, I didn't catch that, but yeah.
I did. All right. Banner.
Yeah, notebooks. Yeah, I'm a big. It's not just notebooks. I think there was also what was it like?
There's ornaments here.
Ornaments.
Bookmarks. Yeah, but now ornaments.
Personalized ornaments looks like too.
Can you
Nice.
go to the menu, like to the
Great thumbnails, honestly, I'd say.
Notebooks, journals, bookmarks. Yeah,
Oh
All
wow,
right.
125 bookmarks.
that's crazy.
Are those actual bookmarks or printables?
I've never seen anyone sell bookmarks. That must be actual bookmarks, right? $10 printable.
Who has bookmarks? Printfire
I've never noticed. Must
or
be.
Teclado, I think. I think they should have some of them. But the mock-up, for example, like for me, the mock-up just looks for the bookmark just looks a little bit off. I don't know if anybody noticed it. It looks a lot like this is a mock-up. You know how some mock-ups look very real and some mock-ups look like they were made like they weren't. I don't feel like this was made as a mock-up. This just looks like it was put on the notebook. But can we get like a close-up of one of them, like bigger?
And I feel there's not enough contrast there, right? Like part of the design is number one. For me, design is number one, and then the presentation, like the packaging here is number two. And you're doing yourself a disservice, I think, because some of these designs are good, but the mock-up doesn't do it justice. There's not enough contrast.
These
Not
are
enough
better. There's some mock-ups that are popping up that are so much better than the one that is as the main one. Like this one doesn't even look real because if you look, if you can stop and go to the first one, the one on top. Did you notice that? Where
the drop shadow.
It's white. No.
Yeah, it shouldn't be white. It should be the book behind it.
Yeah. So the other ones look much better. If there would be a way to create that feel, even this would be better, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
I just feel like the people have become a lot more aware and of mock-ups or something can look not like what you order. So people are become more picky, especially with the first image. And I think like these are such a much better grab, especially like I feel like sometimes even if you can't really see the entirety of the design, if you're like if you're someone who's into this kind of thing, you will go into the listing to see how it looks like if the mock-up is like I'm a book nerd, so I would definitely click on something even if I can't fully see the design because I can see the book itself, like those words or something that attracts you that is much more interesting than just a flat lays, I guess. And the notebooks, is that an A4 or an A5? They're really pretty, especially the sunflower one.
Which one? All right.
Sunflowers.
6x8. Set it to custom. Wait, is this your shop, Carla?
Is that inch? 6x8, yeah. I'm guessing that's a B5 size. Oh, there you were just talking about the Christmas thing. Any order placed after the 12th of the 10th of December. I'm guessing they're also shipping mostly to the US because I read it as the 12th of October. Like any order placed after the 12th of October. Honestly, if you guys want to write these things off and someone is selling this like not just to the US, just write any order placed after 10th of December.
Yeah,
Don't
write the words.
It's like, oh, I guess you get 2 months.
Yeah.
I agree. Use the words.
10
for sure.
TBT.
This mock-up looks great.
Yes, some of these mock-ups look really nice.
Yeah,
They're
nice
from the inside.
This
Like,
is
is there
what
an
I'm
inside-
talking about with, creating mock-ups and a listing with intentionality, right? You've got the flowers in the background of some of these, and it makes sense for the design as well. It feels like you took the time to make the mock-up make sense. Like this one, it just makes sense, right?
Yeah, but I don't think you need that many mock-ups too, right? Because it's just showing the same
No,
thing.
it's the
on
same.
different
It's showing the
backgrounds.
same over and over.
I would rather have coming from the notebook scene. I would rather have first of all, where is the mock-up that shows the inside? Like how the inside looks. The second one, Philip. I think it's the second one. Should be like
the second one.
Open. Yeah. So this is not good enough in terms of me looking at this and oh, okay, seeing exactly this. It's much prefer for it to be flat. And if you actually look at top sellers in Amazon, I'm not talking about notebooks like they design the cover, but actual like bullet journals and stuff like that, you would see that a lot in common what they have is that maybe the second or third image is kind of like journaling calligraphy work. It's kind of like it's the same way that someone would have like a bathing suit, print on demand bathing suit, and you see them having fun at the beach.
Yeah.
So the mock-up here should actually include maybe some kind of like, not saying calligraphy, but if you actually check, go to Amazon and type in like bullet journal or dotted notebook, and you would see that they do some kind of calligraphy to show you how to use the notebook. I know
showing the product in use is a big one.
Yeah, notebooks are like really big as my thing, but I don't think that the mock-ups are nice. I would definitely not do so many different mock-ups. I would find like maybe 2 or 3 as main ones to just not have like kind of have like the, one where the notebook goes like this, one where the notebook goes like this, and that's it. Definitely more emphasis on the interior of the notebook and writing in the notebook. Even take one notebook, and I'm not saying don't do it as a mock-up. Order one of these for yourself in real life. And I can tell you, as someone who's a very big notebook geek, to make sure to actually like write something with a marker and show how this looks like. I don't know if there was also information about the GSM of the paper, but that would be like literally the first thing that I would look at if I was going to buy a notebook, regardless of the cover. As someone who has loads and buys a lot of notebooks, Philip was right. It's really is my thing.
I'm still old school that way too. I like notebooks, and yes, I will feel the paper. I need to touch it. I need to feel if I'm going to be using a felt tip pen or a marker. I need to know it's not going to bleed through 3 pages. I need to know, things like that.
85 GSM. I'm not buying it.
I do want to say that like one thing that you have done really, really well is some of your ornament mockups are perfect. You got badges to really stick out, and it makes the value proposition really easy to understand. So that one that is that Philip is hovering on, the one with fast shipping, for instance. And for instance, when you have some with like a badge that says custom order, so I recommend having max 2 badges in a listing, and you like when you have those, you make the color contrast perfect. A little more like a little down, the one that says amber something, Amber's First Christmas. That mock-up looks great. But even apart from that, just at the very top of like most recent listing, these look perfect because the best thing about these is that the clarity of them. It says printed on both sides, fast shipping. And remember, people view this on a phone, and you can see everything really clearly when it comes to the design. And you see that it's an ornament from the first second you see it. So you've done really well with these mock-up ornaments, and especially the first one there.
Good contrast also. The backdrop is very dark. The designs are obviously on white, so it definitely pops out at you. Yeah, good job on these. These clips were all taken from the Print on Demand Council live streams, which are doing this channel every couple of weeks. If you want to also have a chance of getting your shop reviewed, then you need to be present live doing those streams. And if you want to see any of the replays of the entire streams, which are usually about 1 to 2 hours long, you can find them all on my channel in the live section. And if you want to learn 42 print on demand lessons to help you increase your sales in 2025, make sure to check out this video next.